Thank you very much, Richard. And tonight, without a doubt, voters want to hear what the president's going to do to bring jobs back to struggling Americans. Assistant Democratic Leader James Clyburn joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Congressman. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Look, we all know that it's still a 9.4% unemployment rate. No one's been hurt more than African American youth in the double digits on unemployment. Their prospects right now don't look great. What do you want to hear from the president tonight?
Well, I think that the president will make it very clear that he is no longer in a crisis mode. He is now in a creative mode. He'll be laying out his proposals for job creation.
But don't you think your constituents who have been long-term unemployed feel it is still a crisis mode?
Well, that may be true, and that's one of the reasons I have been advocating for some time now that as we move forward, that we pay particular attention to these communities that have been traditionally left out of past recoveries. And that's why I would like to see some targeting of these recovery measures by census tracts, where people have been traditionally unemployed. Let's target resources into these communities, and you will find that there's a difference if you're in Appalachia than if you're in down in, say, the Black Belt of Mississippi, Alabama, and parts of South Carolina.
You do have some specific proposals. You call one of them 10, 20, 30. Tell us what that is.
What that is that we should direct 10% of the resources into this area, in those areas where 20% or more of the population's been locked beneath the poverty level for the last 30 years, 10, 20, 30. We think if you were to do that, then you would look at Appalachia, where I've been, look into South Dakota, where Native Americans are, look into Arizona, where a lot of Latinas are, and then look into Mississippi, South Carolina, where African Americans are. Let's target these communities based upon need rather than any kind of ethnicity or skin color.
This is a good example, though, I think, of where, in many cases, the Democrats and the Republicans part ways. You look at this to put money into a program like this as an investment. Republicans look at it as spending that adds to the deficit. How do we come to some meeting of the minds about this?
Well, we can have that discussion. I do believe that I'm the only Democrat from South Carolina. A lot of my Republican colleagues represent census tracts as well as counties where unemployment is at 22%. Allendale County in South Carolina, 20% unemployment. It is not in my district. It's in the district of one of my Republican colleagues. So let's look at these communities and stop hopping about what is or is not and try to do what needs to be done.
Let me ask you about one of your colleagues in particular, changing tracks a little bit. Michelle Bachmann received what's called a master class on the Constitution. She set it up. Justice Antonin Scalia gave the talk behind closed doors. Congress members were invited, but the public was not. A Tea Party forum. Are you concerned that the Supreme Court is becoming too political, Congressman?
Yes, I am, and I have been that way for some time. I do believe that we have always traditionally looked upon the Supreme Court as being an impartial arbiter of various arguments and differences that develop in our society. If the public gets the feeling that the Supreme Court of the United States will not be impartial in its deliberations, that could lead to no good. When I was growing up, I always felt that irrespective of what may be happening, forcing me to the back of the bus or to not allowing me to sit at lunch counters, I could go to the Supreme Court and they wouldn't look at social mores and folkways, but they would look at the law and they would do it in an impartial way. If we signal before the issue is ever brought forward that you will rule one way or the other, that's just not good for the American people. And I think that was a horrible mistake for the justice to go to this Tea Party meeting.
Congressman Clyburn, good to see you. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.